You are listening to Word2Wordz, the podcast where two poets come together and share their love for words and those who use them creatively. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and also follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Word2Wordz. That's Word, that's WORD, number 2, WORDZ. So you never miss a word from us. Now, let's begin the show.
Hello, I'm Tony Two Eyes, the Entreprepoet.
And I'm Dara Kalima, the community poet, and this is Word2Wordz. And we are back with yet another episode of your favorite podcast. Thank you for being here with us.
10. Yes, we have made it to the 10th episode. Oh, man.
10th episode.
It has been a long road. Like, wow, we were in COVID. We are still in
COVID. I'm just saying.
We're semi. We're in between. We're still like ready for the jump rope to come around us in double dutch. We're in between. We're mid-air. We don't know what we're gonna land on. Are we gonna land on the rope or are we gonna make it over? You know,
it's almost like being on the seesaw and you up in the air and you don't know if you're gonna come down or if you're just gonna go.
Exactly. Oh man, but we have made it here with all of you, and we thank you all for putting up with us, crazy as we are.
10. I think that's momentous. I was looking at podcasts, and there's some podcasts with some dope titles and names, and they only had like 1 or 2 episodes. Like they just started and never even made it to 10, and we've been doing this for 10 months. So I also want to say, because we keep saying the word 10, the number 10, I just wanted to say a quick hat tip to the Harlem Bomb Shelter that not only celebrated the number 10, but they celebrated 10 years in existence. They just had their 10-year anniversary and they did 10 events. So my hat's off to you. Congratulations. But we're going to flip the script today. We're going to do things a little different because we're going to do the we see you first instead of the word of the episode. So who do we see today? Today we see somebody different on our screen. He has been so super dope that he has interviewed both of us. So it made sense when we decided we were going to interview somebody or bring somebody to join us into this conversation that he would be the first person we brought into this conversation. So let's see. This individual lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I really tried to see them, but I didn't make it into Milwaukee the last time I was in Wisconsin because I was on the other side of that. I was going to say the other side of that planet. I was on the other side of that state, so I couldn't see them. But they are my goals when I get there the next time, because I plan on being in Milwaukee sometime soonish. Soonish.
I mean, like next week.
I can't go back to Chicago, so I'm gonna go to Milwaukee. So that's a whole nother thing. But they started writing short stories and other forms in high school, and then they started after a breakup in 2003. They really focused in on poetry. And then they kept doing some other stuff, because you know how we poets do, we just keep writing. And then they started a podcast. For 5 years, they did that podcast. And then they created this other podcast that was super dope. And that's the one we showed up on, which is the Ethically Immoral Podcast. And if you do not listen to this podcast, and if you got some time to kill, everybody that I know who has been on that podcast has said that I've never been on a podcast like that. Like, Mike Payne does some serious research on you.
Yes,
and he will keep you talking. So
he told me the last 4 of my social.
I was like,
what? how you get that?
He was telling me my blood type. So I was like, was he there when I got tested? I don't understand this.
You can get into like 30 of my accounts right now, man.
So welcome.
And
Mike
then when I
Payne.
asked him about it, he was like, I do my research, I look into things. I'm like, what? Retired private investigator, you okay?
We have him laughing over here on the screen with us. So welcome Mike Payne to the podcast. I know I said some stuff about you. I may have skirted over some of it, but is there anything you want to say to people who are listening to introduce yourself even further?
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to invade y'all's space. Congratulations to you both for your 10th episode. And yes, the artist Anubis and everybody at the Harlem Bomb Shelter. Um, Congratulations for 10 years. Anything else that I want to add? No, not really. You pretty much covered it all.
As long as you ain't
Was
got the other numbers on my social security number, okay?
Not yet.
Let's hope
I'm
we
working
can
on
add
it.
those.
I'm working on it. I thought maybe I'll talk about something
You got a
else.
lot of time over in Milwaukee, man.
You know what? I do, man. I do. And yeah, I do my research, man. Like that's one of the things that I've learned about because the podcast that I host is long form conversation, you know what I'm saying? And so I like telling the creators about themselves, you know. I think it's important for them to feel as though that they are cared for, that they're appreciated, and instead of them always having to say, "Well, I'm from such and such a place, and I started writing here and writing there." It's a lot of stuff on the internet too, man. I'll tell you.
I know.
Apparently, there is.
I have to say that feeling of feeling known was really felt when I was on your podcast, because it was like, hold on, how did you know? Like, you paid attention to me, because a lot of things that we're doing, we don't get the recognition. We don't get recognition all the time, but we're not doing it for that. But it does feel good to hear, oh, you do this, and you also have 2 daughters, and this, and I'm like, wow, you know that I'm balancing father and doing all of this other stuff. So it was felt, man. Your mission and your vision and your goals, that is in line.
And I gotta
say, I'm glad to hear that.
I have to admit that my listening to things have fallen off. So I have a lot of episodes to catch up on right now. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna own that. But what I loved was that as I was listening, slowly more and more of who you are started showing up in episodes too. And I was like, oh, let me find out. Mike said, what now? Mike was talking about his love life at some point. What? He mentioned some personal stuff now. What was? So I really love that was happening, that like we were starting to get to know who you were a little bit more. So that was just like, because you have this voice that everyone leans in, and just someone said to me after our episode, they were like, the ASMR that was happening in that episode.
Yo,
I said he needs to come out with. I was listening to the latest episode yesterday, and I was like, yo, he needs, the way he talks to this jazz music at the beginning, he needs to start just a meditation or relaxation, just an album. Just talking. You don't even have to talk about it. The sky is blue. Sorry, I can't even go low as him,
Say my ABC.
Yeah, just the ABCs.
ABC. Put you to sleep, man. Dara, you had mentioned to me about that ASMR comment, and I had no idea what that was when you brought that to me, and I looked it up, and that's crazy. I never knew, and there's like a whole sub genre on that. Like it's like this. So maybe I will do something like that.
Yeah.
Like
you get a heavy duty mic. You get a heavy duty mic and just talk.
Yeah. So
you have a whole new career, an extra source of income. You got this.
Sure.
All of it.
Just you talking.
So I'm going to get this party started, right? You know how we do. This is Word2Wordz. The title is not just a title. It actually is what we do in this podcast. So we started off with a word that will lead us to other words that will lead us to more words. So the word for today, this episode, is decimate, which means 2 definitions: to reduce drastically, especially in number, or to cause great destruction or harm to. So I know this is very timely as far as what is happening in Ukraine. And we are seeing a country go over to another country and decimate the people innocently. And it really, I know it's really decimating the patience that the world is having before we jump in, because it's like, come on now, this is 2022. Like this seems like we're back in 30 something. I'm not talking about any particular war because I didn't get on here to do a history lesson.
You sure? Because you was going
I need
in
multiple
for a second.
choice in history.
Yeah. Like, which
I
war
would
are we
guess
going
it
to?
did. But go ahead. You have to use it in a sentence too. Sorry.
So yeah, I didn't have an answer.
What? You better make up
I usually
something.
have
We
one.
don't
I'm
do
usually
that.
like right on it, right? I'm usually like right there. So that person's insult decimated my whole self-esteem.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
And Mike?
Wow. The whole self-esteem.
The whole self-esteem. It just crumbled to nothing. You got to watch what you say to people. Your words matter,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let me see.
We got a whole bunch of stuff lined up.
Well, it's funny because when you started the definition and the second definition specifically, and you said it was timely, I thought you were going to go into something else. I had no idea you were going to go to Ukraine, which is why I laughed.
Yeah, I was like, why is he laughing? But I was like, okay, maybe he he thought something different.
I did. I thought something different. I thought you were going to talk about some recent events in California. But so I guess I'll go there. Chris Rock decimated Will Smith's ego by eating that slap.
This is why he laughed. I was not going to touch that at all.
Wow, but you know what? That's all facts, though. That's all facts.
Eating that, he's got a chin, boy, because he ate that slap for real.
Keep it going.
Wow, yeah, no, that was a whole experience. That was a whole. Oh, that was ugly too. So
man, I can't wait till we get into this episode. Oh man, we about to go. There's some current events that we may touch on. So,
serious.
So we're doing now is the time for us to shine a little bit, where we show you why two poets came together and started this, and we do our poetry thing. But now we're joined with Mike, so he's going to also do his little poetry thing too.
Yeah.
So is it me first? It's me first, right? It's me.
I believe so, because
Here we go. Like acidic rain, the tears accumulated in cumulus eyelids for years are phonetically strained and collected from sections of my brain and emotions. To be dissected by my peers, persistently piercing and slicing me like a scalpel's incision, the verdicts and decisions of whether each letter or word observed is valuable or just babble that glistens, constantly is overshadowing me down until marrow deep as their Bible rivals with every discovery I've willed. I religiously build literary monuments from remnants of my previous experiences extracted to socially construct structures that tower over my poetry like architecture within the Big Apple. People seem to gigabyte pieces out of my texture with casual judgments, critiques, and lectures, analyze and process my pleasures and painful realities. Dreaming, but can't keep my two eyes closed like lights beaming in windows deprived from relentless restlessness, derived in agony, practically neglected in between folded clothes, soaked by a hose connected to my pulmonary valve and artery. While my heart beats out loudly, constant sounds of me breathing makes rhythm and blue tunes that are selected like eclectic vocabulary. My words are projected with a mission to make them dance to the beat of my existence. I am born to be scorned and different, free to grow restricted, while they dance freely and listen to the gift that I have been gifted with. This gift has been grafted and lifted out of my genetic sequence and is a composition that no orchestra possesses enough instruments to present in this inner body symphonic experience, which is positioned within a canvas, lacking the square footages to capture the entire scenery internally seen in me after I labor as a slave to my audience, applauding from word plays and quotes that vibrate from my throat. It is the fate of exposing what I wrote. Although it is supposed to motivate, resonate, and engrave impactful content packed with woes from my conscience, so I know confidence is just a consequence of fear and a lack of common sense. So I go to and fro, although my soul remains cold and shivering. I am releasing bad energy with a goal to one day be warmed by conjoined positivity. But that's just one of many possibilities extracted from endless infinities, a concept captured in my vanities, driven by my mind from insanity and the tendency of actually being subjected to lines on a page and confined by blind symmetry. I'm enslaved to entertain and behave in ways so my expression can be used as a tool to view my views as confessions, not rage, to see them from the same perspective as they were made with effortless pain that I was left with. Strange and breathless are the things that remain for me to put breath in and give life to my own oppression. My creativity is free, unlike me, who is chained to his obsession of mastering peace, of mastering pieces, piece by piece, but instead each piece never ceases to master me. Constantly, I am taken into bondage as I am wondering how my artistry turned from creativity into slavery, liberating everyone else that hears it, except for me.
If my tears could speak, they would reveal how weak I am. My hard exterior masks my inferiority complex that I suspect and convict of the crime of neglect. I don't regret much, but I realize that I've lost sight and touch of what matters most to me, you. Over the last few months, my effort has eroded simply because the feelings of security of where we are emotionally consume me. And as a consequence, exerting the necessary energy to not only sustain but also grow with you has diminished. While we are not finished, I lie in bed facing the reality that our relationship suspends like a thread. As I seek ways to press ahead, my head is filled with the memories of overcoming our previous difficulties. I hope to channel this same feeling of urgency that motivated me to feel from the perspective of how lonely and how empty my life and heart would be without you. Summing the will that inspires appreciation, the wanting, and the desire to reignite the fire that once burned deep inside, I understand needs to preside and guide. I'm doing my best to not allow my past to ruin my gift, my present, and to derail our future. I recognize that in order to prevail, I need to end my years on the run and confront my fears. I'm afraid to love, but I'm terrified to be loved genuinely, completely, and wholeheartedly for simply being me. I finally need to be accountable and take responsibility for taking you for granted, supplanting our potential with inconsequential thoughts and wants. I write this with confidence that I will write this. I miss us, not only the idea, but the substance that makes up our reality. I anticipate you eventually reading this as proof of just how much I love and value you. The admiration I feel hopefully will contribute to the maturation I need to eventually fill the void your life possesses. And as you question the direction you should move in, know that I'm currently looking to improve in all the ways needed to make you trust me again.
Hey, Death. So I know you likely heard me say once or twice something about wanting to be white, but you know that was lies, right? Something said in jest. It was just poetic license as I tried to explain the burden of being Black for those whom ample amounts of melanin was lacked. But yeah, either way, I definitely don't want to be reborn as that. Yes, I want to be reborn Black. I mean, come on. This is where it's at. We take the dead and make life of it. We take the trite and make style of it. We take pain and make laughs of it. We take scraps and make gourmet of it. We take nothing and make magic of it. Whatever we touch, we make better of it. And while I hate the fibroids and cramps and the lower paychecks, I think I prefer to stay a woman too. Yes, I know there's so much work that comes with the mask, but have you seen these curves? Just peep these hips. Press yourself into these lips and admire this hair, but keep your fingers out of it. Touching this mane is a no-no. But I'm just saying, everyone else injects, tucks, and fluffs just to get what we naturally received. Black women truly are a thing of beauty. It'd be a blessing to return, but can you hold off on bringing me back? I mean, I'm happy to restart this trip again, but can we wait until more Black men delay the time it takes in which to reach the pearly gates? It hurts watching their demise again and again and again and again, name after name after name after name. It's hard enough worrying about my own life's threads that's still constantly under threat. Being Black is in fact right now a trap. So how about some years from now? You know, when Black skin doesn't equate elephant tusk or rhino horns, when it's not a prize to usher us to our demise. I don't want to teeter near extinction anymore. I'm over the premature mortality simply because someone didn't want me, all cause they're intimidated by this amount of fine. Oh, we are so very fine. I get that jealousy may be warranted, but they needn't fear. We aren't nearly as vengeful as we could be, as we maybe should be. Should we be? But I digress. I just need a longer egress from that plight. So what say you? Can we just hold tight on the next life? Can we hold off on my return until hearts change and perceptions clear, behaviors modify, and others learn how to genuinely play nice? Death, don't make me go back just yet to a place or time when others still for the dark harbor hate. Please, can we wait? So yeah, we made it through the round robin.
Snap. Oh man.
We sure did.
We brought fire. We brought death, and we brought just this emotionally like touching letter to whomever she is. Like I was just like, take him back. Don't leave him. Don't do it. Don't do it, please. He's sorry. He wanted to kill himself.
That's right.
It was really dope to hear your writing.
Very nice.
It was really dope to hear your writing. I was like, okay, let me find out. So yeah.
I was like, man, he just like, let me just talk to you. Like it's yo, all I hear is the music in the background. You know how Boyz II Men used to talk.
Hey. Yo.
True.
Apologizing for everything that she did. Oh, baby, I'm sorry that you cheated on me. It's okay. I love you anyway.
Oh man, yo, this Oh, it's already amazing. It's just gonna get better from here. Wow. For those out there that's listening, if you heard any lines that really touched your heart or really resonated with you, please do drop it in the comments if there's comments in the platform that you have. If you're listening to it on somewhere that doesn't have comments, please go over to IG Word2Wordz and go and comment on the post that is for this episode. We would love to hear from you. Again, if you want to also write us, like let us know what how you feel, what's happening with you, how this show is helping you, or whatever. Just write to us. Doesn't matter.
So we're at the part of it, and I want to definitely start with the question with you, Mike. What inspires your pen? Like, what inspires your pen generally, or what is inspiring your pen right now? Like, are you currently writing? And if so, what is influencing that?
Not currently writing at the moment, unfortunately. But typically what encourages me, what motivates me, is how I'm feeling. You know, there was a long time where I really disliked vulnerability. I was afraid of vulnerability. And writing was really the outlet that I had to get out whatever I needed to get out. And, you know, poetry has allowed me to find out more about myself than I would have done consciously. You know, I thought that I was always a reflective person. I thought that I did a lot of introspection, but I realized that I only did enough introspection to scratch the surface. But once I went past the surface, I realized that I didn't want to touch some things. There were some areas that I didn't really want to go into. And so poetry, once I get in that mode, it just weaves its way around, above, underneath, through barriers that I put up, you know? And so, yeah. And maybe I should change that. I think poetry motivates me to write just because of that's the medium. That's what I have used to learn a lot about myself, to be honest.
Yeah. That's a whole word right there. Because I have to say, for me, over the summer, I've been working on a project, and I went with a goal over the summer to dig into like the crazy, and I found out what I wasn't writing about. And ever since I realized what I wasn't writing about, my whole writing has gone. But it was that digging into that place that you don't want to touch. And once I got there, it's been my whole life has been different. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah.
My whole life has been like my whole life, not just my writing life. My whole life has been different since I was like, I finally poked at that place that I didn't realize I wasn't writing about. But poetry can do that to you. It can also mess you up if you go there, but it can save your life too. It can save your life.
Sure.
I think for me right now, what's inspiring my pen, and Tony's gonna love this answer because he always sees me as this hard, mean individual that's always political. But there's been a lot of developments in my love life. And since I keep my love life very private, generally speaking, there's been a lot of developments in it in the last few months, and it has definitely spilled into my pen. And so I've been writing all these love poems, or these heartbreak poems, or these love poems again. It's been a roller coaster.
Love poems. That sounds like someone that's hard. Love poems. It's love.
I mean,
so that's why I say that.
Like, what do you want me to say? I've been writing all these love poems.
That's what you're supposed to say.
And these
heartache
poems.
Twirling your hair.
And these love poems again. Like, what is that supposed to do?
That's a person that is not hard and rough. Yes.
You know what? Tony, I'm giving the most I can give. I'm not that person who puts that stuff out there. So let me live, okay? I didn't realize. So here's the thing, Mike. I didn't realize until someone just said it to me. Someone's had a crush on me for a lot of years. Whatever comes out of that, we'll find out, right? But because I don't put these things out there, I don't put my love life out there, they didn't know that they could even approach me because I don't put my love life out there. I got interviewed on a podcast last fall, and the first question she asked me was, I realized I went through all of your socials and I saw nothing about love. So let's talk about that. I was like, I don't put it there. Like, I don't put that in the world. And so it's been showing up in my pen instead. So that's what's showing up in my writing these days. Tony, what's inspiring your pen?
I want to go back to what Mike said when he was talking about, poetry allowing him to actually write or being the inspiration. And it was Bleed workshop at Poetics University when I taught that I realized the power that poetry holds. And I talked to you all about how you are able to hold it and see all sides of a thing that hurts you when you actually are trying to create poetry, when you're trying to create something artistic out of this feeling that you have to hold it consciously, and look at all sides of it, rather than when you're talking about it, it's like black and white. You're like reading it from your conscious. But when you're actually expressing it, you have to see all sides of something so that you can actually express it in a way that someone can see it, pretty much. When you're talking about it, you try to describe it all of like this. I know it's here, I know it's there, I know it's there. But I just wanted to point out that was a powerful thing that you were talking about there, Mike. And what's inspiring my pen, I just wrote my first poem in a long time, and it was basically about being confident in who I am now as an artist, as a visionary. Think everything that I'm doing right now, I'm getting comfortable. At first, up until now, it was like, I don't know if I'm headed down the right path. I don't know. I had a lot of unsurety, and I didn't express it, but there was a lot of I guess what was that about? Self-conscious, being self-conscious. I don't know, but now I am inspired by that. So a lot of things are coming to surface in my mind, in my writing, in the content that I'm producing. A lot of things are just becoming more comfortable and confident.
Nice.
Can I ask for clarity on that though, Tony? So when you say you were looking for or confidence, that you're more confident, was that in your decision making as far as what projects to do and how to proceed with the different projects that you have going on, or was it as a creative, your words, the way that you write? What, when you say confidence, was it more?
So confidence, when you're talking about the project side, there's always this fear of failure.
Right.
When you start something, even starting a business, until you reach 5 years, they say, you can fail at any time in that position, or in that journey. So it's kind of like I tried a lot of different things inside of the last 3 years. And some things rose, some things didn't, some things are still kind of just in limbo. And so now more confident in the direction, which things I'm actually going to go with. And then in the writing, it's like now a comfort level, like, okay, I can pick up the pen at any time, because it's been a while since I actually just picked up the pen. So when it happened, when I was able to start writing, when I wrote the next poem, it was like, oh wow, it just came back like this. And it was just like, okay, I have been afraid to actually put I don't write with pen, but put the letters into the phone or into the computer to write again. And it's just been like, what topic do I write on? When I wrote my book, it was about, a relationship. Now I'm in a happy relationship. I'm like, okay, I can write about love. I can write about that. I'm comfortable in that area, but how do I get comfortable in another area? So now it's matching my brand, which I'm trying to, produce more motivational things, inspire people, and that is where all of my projects are. It's in uplifting others. So that's what I was to clarify. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah, and I don't mean to be the interviewer
He's
here.
turning into the interviewer.
You can't take the hat off. You can't take the hat off.
He is turning into the interviewer now.
Yeah, but so Dara,
Yes.
how do you feel though about the love creeping into your work? When I hear creeping, I'm thinking not conscious. So
So
when you
it,
realize that it's there, how does that feel?
it's fine. So Tony doesn't believe me when I say this. I have a whole catalog of my work, right? Like I literally have a document where I catalog all my work. That's why I can tell you almost to the number how many poems I have written within a month.
I remember.
Exactly. So I don't know what the current number is, but I'm before like July, I will have crossed over 2,000. That I can tell you for sure. So when I look at that, most of my writing is relationships. He don't believe me because all he sees is the political version of me.
I said love.
What happened?
Let's be clear. Love. Lovey-dovey, soft, cushiony. That's what I'm talking about. Not just relationship. Love, hugs, kisses, comfort, softness. Okay. Now go back to your little log and see what categories fall into that.
Fine, it becomes less. Okay. It becomes less.
Hey.
Fine. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't like you anymore, Tony. And Mike, you make it keep
we've been having this debate, and I haven't actually just came out and said that this whole time.
Here, I've heard it.
If you ever ask that question, yes, I would have to really read all those poems and figure that out. It does shift a little bit. But a lot of it, I mean, the relationship stuff wasn't just like, I mean, the relationships are not like people relationships, but in terms of like familial, I have a different category for that. But yes, it wasn't just the happy, soft parts of love, but it was relationship stuff. So I have written a lot. I have written it all for always, though. I do have like a lot of love stuff before. It definitely, I did a 30 and 30 in February, and it skewed my writing. It absolutely was skewing my writing because it was just like, what's happening? Like, why does this keep coming up? And it was sort of annoying. But you ride with it because the thing is that your writing's going to write itself. Good writing is going to write itself. Yes, you're going to, like, you get all the tools in your toolbox so that you have these skills to pull into it. If you're practicing writing, if you have a practice of writing, if I'm trying to get the right wording, and if you're a writing practitioner, almost, I want to say, like, if you're like, I write constantly on purpose. It is a practice for me. And so the writing, the good writing, the poetry that's like, yes, writes itself. And so if the writing's saying we're going to write about love today, or we're going to skew in that direction, then that's what we're going to do. Like, I have a poem that was like, I really wanted to write about the war, but instead all I want to write about is being in your arms. That's the poem. Like, I couldn't do anything else. That's what the poem wanted to do. That's where it landed on itself. That was it. Because Ukraine had just started happening when I was away in a retreat. And I was like, I really want to write about this war that started, but all I could think about was this instead. And it showed up, and that's what I did. It is not the most comfortable, but it's what it is. We're all humans. You let your writing do what it's going to do. Tomorrow, someone's going to mess up something, and we still go on hand with whatever poetically, and I'll be political again. But it also feels good because I was getting really tired of fighting for my life. poetically, in terms of, can I exist? I'm a Black woman, can I exist? And all of this stuff that, I mean, it's almost is a great segue into let's talk about it, where we're talking about what's going on in the world. But that's not, because it skips, because that's Words of Wisdom is next. But can I exist? And your sentence would decimate that whole, I have a whole lot of feelings about what happens at the awards. And can Black women exist, about people having something to say about their hair, their body, and their existence? Because my feelings on the joke, can we just exist without being the butt of a joke? So all of that, but that's a whole different thing. So words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
So it's funny, I was speaking to two different people. I was giving advice to somebody from Poetic Shoe last night about starting their own open mic at a venue. And they were talking about the poet that yells. And I was having a different conversation with someone who was judging a slam. And they're like, and for the last round, this one poet came out and all they did was yell. So my advice, stop yelling. And it's one thing to yell, like to amplify and start yelling. It's one thing it's one thing to find a reason to yell in your poem. It's a whole nother thing when all you do the entire poem is yell. One, guess what? You're decimating your vocal cords, probably. I did it again. Two. But also, like, nobody can have that yelling coming at them for the whole time. If you're not varying up your voice, if you're not varying up your speed, if you're not varying up your delivery, no one's paying attention. Everyone's zoned out with you yelling at them. So, like, stop yelling. Find a reason to deliver your work. Find nuance in how you deliver your work. Stop yelling. So that's like my advice, because I've heard twice this week people complaining about poets who yell, and it definitely hurt this person in a slam who decided they were just going to yell in their round because they were like, we're going to do something different. It ain't work.
So I would say, and Dara, you kind of touched on this. You said you let the pen do whatever it's going to do. Kind of let the words just flow from the pen. So I guess I would say to, and this may be cliche, but trust yourself, allow whatever you feel that needs to come out to come out, and believe that what's coming out is the truth, your truth, and even if it doesn't equate to the greatest poem, the greatest piece, or whatever genre that you're writing in, you will be able to use those ideas, those feelings that just writing and getting it out stimulates, and then you can turn that into whatever you want to turn it into. But so I would say, trust yourself, allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to be that V word that I don't like all that much, vulnerable, and yeah. So I'll go with that.
Excellent. So trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Trust yourself.
My bad. So mine is watch out for past ghosts. And what I mean by that is sometimes people that you thought you had got rid of in the past, but you were emotionally still tied to them, but you blocked the number, all of that stuff. And it's not just people. People is just an example. It could also be scenarios, but things that you thought you had gotten rid of just by burying it and putting it in your past, blocking the number, moving away from it, but it still lived just like ghosts because you never actually you never deaded it. You never put it in the casket and felt comfortable in your own self to move on correctly. So I think I was talking with someone and they were telling me that an ex came back in and it started all this turmoil back into their life again. And they're artists as well. So of course it came out in their artwork and it slumped them. They couldn't write anymore because this energy, you know, and I believe that we're all energy and if you let that energy continue living, when it comes back, it's just going to do what energy does and it transforms or transfers. Sorry. So you have to, when you make a decision, you make your decision. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And make sure that you're making your decision based off of what's right, what's best for you, so that you can feel comfortable that if it does come back in, it's like, no, I chose me. Get away. Or you can, or I mean, you can address it as well if you're confident enough. You know, when you have a ghost, it scares you. But when you have like something that's underground, dead, 6 feet deep, that doesn't scare you. It's when it comes back around that's when it scares you. And I'm only using these as metaphors, but yeah. So that's my words of wisdom. Take it how you want. Even write a poem about it if you have experienced that. So yeah.
No, but it's true. I mean, you said ghost, I say trauma, but because people be triggering trauma in you, you know, and
Yeah.
if you are not ready, if you've not done the work to address it, I'm very clear about when I'm having a trauma response. And even if I can't say that yet, I have a terrific therapist. And do I have a great therapist? And he helps me work through like, no, that's a trauma response. And
Yeah.
so once I'm aware of that, then I can say it and therefore get you to help me through it, even if it's just giving me space to process it. And if you triggered a trauma response in me, we either need to figure out why or you need to go. You know? but at least now we can have that conversation of like, you are sending me all your energy is just traumatic. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Bye. You know, but you got to be in that place to have dealt with that to be able to let that go, because
Yeah.
we don't need that type of energy here. Nope.
And that's how you bury it. You have to address it. You have to face it.
Yep. And I mean, that's again what you did with Bleed, right? That's what you did with the Bleed workshop and ultimately the results of that book. Y'all, if y'all don't have the Bleed book by Poetics You need to go to your Amazon store, go to the Tony Inc. website and look at the Poetics You bookstore. And you need to get yourself a copy of the Bleed Anthology, because there's some painful work in there, but there's some great healing in there too. Oh, there's some great work in there.
Trauma into triumph.
Yep.
Pain into poetry.
I figured I'd just make that plug since we done talked about it enough today.
Yeah.
We never talk about that book, but we talked about it enough. So I have to remember to put that in the notes maybe so people can find out where it is.
Are you doing this on purpose? You just said talk about it. And did you know you knew what the next section was?
I didn't, but let's talk about it. So can we now talk about how crazy yesterday was? The slap heard around the world.
Oh my! Look, he went and got some tools. He got some tools for this conversation.
No, no. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
He just washed the hands so that the hand can be.
Talk about it.
So, wow. Are we going with the top? Are we just general? Or are we going with what I wrote?
I need to personally talk about the slap heard around the world, because last night I purposefully posted on my Facebook page before everyone else did, because someone wrote, oh, there's going to be a think tank about this. There's going to be all these think pieces all about all about how about Will Smith and his losing his mind, or men and mental health and all that other stuff. And I think that's fair and valid. He done had a whole long that whole family has been a little bit too much in the public eye lately. And they got, the only Jesus is not the only one who needs to talk about mental health these days. I'm just gonna put it that way. But that all said, none of this would have happened. That slap would have never happened if we were not talking about a Black woman's body and her hair on a public forum. And so I have a lot of feelings about the point that started this whole situation. And we're so busy talking about Will and how he responded, and Chris and how he responded, but we're not really talking about the public display of disrespect that happened. And Black women are always, 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 always policed about our hair. We are always policed about our hair. Even when I show up in head wraps, even when it's nice compliments, oh, I'm so glad you're wearing another head wrap. They always make me so happy. Don't know Black people say that. I'm gonna say that. That compliment never comes from Black people. We may get the nod, but that nod does not mean the same thing as what this compliment that I get all the time. So we got to acknowledge that there's always some version of a response to how we show up with our hair. And so the fact that there was any joke, and let's also be real, that a white person would not have been up on that stage and made that joke. They wouldn't have felt that they could have. And had they done it today, there would have been a public, oh yes, it was inappropriate for me to have made that joke. There would have been a response in this moment. In the past, there would have been some other comments, but that wouldn't have happened. So the fact of the matter is that he should have never made that joke. And she was an easy target because it was a Black woman that you can make that joke with. Even if you're friends or not, it was another comment where we're always policing what a Black woman looks like. And it was in front of mixed company. It shouldn't have happened, period, but it was in front of mixed company, and that makes it even worse. And it's in this huge space. And even if it's a one-line quick joke, it was really offensive to me personally, because all my life I have gotten comments about my hair, whether it was straight, whether it was relaxed, whether it was straight and comb, whether it was in braids, whether it was in extensions, and especially since it's been dreadlocks. So there's so much critique and criticism about our hair that any conversation, that should be something that's off the conversation for anyone to be saying, especially our partners. And so I had a lot of feelings, and that conversation keeps disappearing because all we want to talk about is the slap. And we're not going to talk about the disrespect that was tied to, that created the slap. But I'm really annoyed, and I got to keep saying it because I'm like, but what about? And they were like, yeah, but he slapped her. He was defending her. He slapped him. He was defending her. Jada got a whole platform. She got a whole mouth, and she got a whole neck roll and eye roll. She could have handled Chris Rock anytime she wanted to, any other platform. Whatever.
I'm going to let Mike go first.
You can tell I'm still steaming about it, but
unless you still thinking, then I'll go.
And y'all, if y'all want to be wise and not respond to that and just say your things that you're upset about,
I'm responding to
too.
that. I'm responding exactly to that.
Well, I do have a question though, follow-up question for you though. When it comes to, you said that if it was a white woman, that she wouldn't have made that joke. I don't know if that's the case because, aren't white women one of the ones that, oh, can I play on your hair? Oh, let me touch your hair.
The one that he was actually referencing was a white woman.
It's an old movie.
They also picked on Britney for the same thing.
Right, G.I. Jane, right, yeah.
This is not the same time period. So I want to put context into this conversation in terms of when we are doing this. I think, yes, this is different. I think it's also different because, Britney was having a mental breakdown. That was the whole thing.
That's a whole different thing.
Demi did it for a show. So that Demi could have been free to pick on because she did it for a show. She did it for a movie. So fine. I don't think that was sacred at that point. Britney was having a mental breakdown. And then that is sort of more sacred because that's now a mental health issue. Jada, it's a health issue.
Right.
But also we're talking about now when we are in the wake of 2020, when everyone's being super woke and we are not, or everyone's being super woke and we're trying to be more PC. Everyone's doing DEI initiatives. We're all working on being more equitable, more PC, and not doing the same nonsense we did before. So that all said, this is not the same climate than any of those other times. And so I think it is not, I think it's far less, I don't think it's ever appropriate. I think it's far less appropriate now. And I bet you that had it happened this year, whomever else would have done it would be sitting there eating crow today, putting a public apology out.
He did.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. Oh, go ahead.
He put an apology out.
Who did? Chris Rock?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see
I'll read it.
I'll read it.
I'll read it. And also Will Smith did too. Did you see it?
No.
So he basically described comedy, which was what I was thinking. As a comedian, it can be difficult to understand which lines are to be crossed and which ones aren't. Last night, I crossed a line that I shouldn't have and paid the enormous price of my reputation as a renowned comedian. Comedy is never about poking fun at or making light of people with major ordeals happening in their lives. Comedy is about using real life circumstances to create laughter and bring light to an otherwise dark world. With that said, I sincerely apologize to my friends Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, and the rest of the Smith family for the disrespect and disregard I displayed, which was unfortunately broadcast for the world to see. I hope that with time, forgiveness can come of this situation and we can all be better, more considerate people in the end.
Nice. Well done. Well crafted. But how many people knew about that? If the three of us are here and only one of us knew about it.
Well, I just pulled it up.
Okay.
I didn't know
so
about
there's
it
that.
before.
Exactly. 2, the optics are really problematic when we keep saying as Black women, no one's defending us, and a Black man just straight up disrespected us on the screen like that. We're not protected. We were protected by a man then going and beating the other one up, which is a whole nother issue for our whole community.
I mean, I think it's one of those things that you can, like, do I think that he was trying to use a Black female to make a joke? I don't, or I don't even think that was scripted. Actually, I don't even think that was part of his original. I think it was because he was going around and he, like how they always do with the audience comedians. So I don't think that he was intentionally trying to take her ailment and then make a joke out of it. I don't think that his intention was to take her ailment and actually make a joke. So
what I tell people always is that intentions are nice and dandy, but impact is the most important part. The impact was terrible. The impact,
no one actually got that impact.
No one? Because
everybody was laughing. It wasn't like a moment. So
I'm sorry, everybody was laughing, or did Jada Pinkett Smith roll her eyes in the moment? Because the person who was the target of the joke absolutely felt the impact of that moment.
Yes. Okay.
So there was an impact from that moment.
So she actually, yeah. Okay.
So there was an impact from that moment.
Okay, got you.
The victim of the joke felt the impact of the moment.
What it means around that topic to everyone else.
The impact was felt. And there's still a greater, and there's still a greater impact on what that means to Black women to be continually disrespected in the public eye when it comes to our bodies.
I agree.
And therefore, that is the bigger, to me, that is the bigger problem.
Mike.
Are you?
I'm here.
Are you asking for a lifeline there, Tony? I'm
just
talking.
Like,
y'all can handle your whatever your topics are.
Mike, help me, Mike. Help me get the smooth voice on, Mike.
I just don't want my thing to die here.
Oh, that's what you getting the lifeline.
Yeah, man.
You were actually getting the lifeline
together here. So So personally, I think this goes back to 2000 and I think it was 2016,
16,
2015. Yeah. And his comments about Jada in regards to the whole boycott the Oscars. And so when I didn't watch it live, I saw, a video of it. But to Dara's point, hair and Black women seems to be a thing. And so, initially I thought that it was more of a superficial joke, a superficial line. But because of the history between the two, I don't know how they are outside of that, outside of what happened at the Oscars a few years ago and what happened yesterday. But I just felt like, though it was a superficial shot, she feels, I know that from what I've heard anyway, so maybe I don't know, but from what I've heard, that is something that's very difficult for her to handle, to have to go through the transition of, cutting her hair or shaving her hair, that hair loss, just because of how important the, hair is to Black women, And so, though I don't know if Chris Rock intended for it to reference her disease or her condition, she felt a certain way about it. And I think not only did she take it, because she's very emotionally intelligent. And so for her, if I imagine it felt like a double shot. One, I'm a Black woman, and you're talking about my hair. We're already being attacked for that, but also I have this condition. And so when I saw her face, how she rolled her eyes and gave him a look, I just felt, I felt bad for her. And not that she needs me to feel bad for her, but, so, we'll see if Chris is just saying these things because he needs to put out something. But if he is more in tune with what should be said, and hopefully his attitude will change. And I don't know who he is as a person, obviously. I don't know what his motives are, what his thoughts are, feelings are towards hair and Black women. I know he made that movie a while back, you know what I'm saying? But so, yeah, I just thought it was unfortunate. But I thought that it goes back further, to 2016. So it's almost like an attack. And Will snapped. But yeah.
I mean, there was another point that was brought up from, I can't find the article, but somebody else went to a different point, and I'm like, with these type of things, you can actually analyze it just like you do football plays. I mean, and you can try to find an angle. But she was saying that if you look at Will, because she actually did a screenshot of Jada rolling her eyes, and then Will was laughing in that moment. And she was like, you don't know what she did in that cut where we couldn't actually see between when she rolled her eyes and he was laughing to when he actually walked on stage, because there was no cameras on him. And they were saying she could have actually nudged him or said something to him that would then make him now have to have a particular reaction. And then they were saying, like, you don't know, because he was laughing at the moment. And so then they brought up the fact that and of course you're going to disagree, Dara, but the black man feeling like he has to be macho or be this and that to actually defend his family, and he's also she also brought up that he was dealing with the fact that they did that on the red table, talked about that, and he was cheated on and all of this stuff. And so they were talking about the psyche behind the Will's decision as well, because it did seem like he did take it lightly until there must have been some type of transaction happening.
So yes, but so here's my thing. There's a lot of what happened in that moment that we don't see. It could have just been him seeing her hurt. She never had to necessarily do anything. It could have just been him seeing her physical response to being hurt by what he by what was said, because she had a whole eye roll, like her whole body language changed in that moment. So it could have been anything. It could have been, she could have nudged, she could have aided for help.
How about if she did? What is the conversation then?
If she did, she did. But I'm not talking about the slap no matter what, because I'm not centering around that. But I think there's generally an issue. I think it's problematic anyway. I think the slap is problematic. I think the snap is problematic for, I'm gonna keep centering around Jada for a second. I think the slap is problematic for Jada, because if you walked into your wife's job and slapped somebody because they disrespected her, your wife is about to have a problem. If you walked into your wife's job and you slap somebody at work, at her job, she's going to have a problem at work. She may not have the job anymore. She may have to deal with whatever it is to make sure that you're never coming in again, and yada, yada. And they were both at work. And therefore, his doing anything in defense of her undermines her position in some ways. Whether she got him to do it or not, it undermines her position in the field and industry.
Now, you're taking the perspective of her being at work.
They're both
technically, at work. He was at work.
They're both at work.
She's only there because he was nominated for.
They're both at work.
But how about if you look at the other side? It was actually his job or his thing that he was going to.
Sure, he was being nominated, but that whole event is work. No one is there just to enjoy it. Everyone is there for, it's a business event.
No, the wives of these famous people they're not famous, they're not working.
It is a business event. If your wife gets there, if you are the person winning and your wife shows up and she is slurring her words, drunk as a skunk, embarrassing as F, you are now, she is now a reflection of you, and you are the one being talked about at your job the next day. So understand, it is a business event when you're showing up to something like the Oscars. So no matter what, your partner and whatever happens there, and however, and they both are actors, they are both public eyes. So this is still both of their jobs.
Okay, I'm only saying because you actually chose to choose her job in your
description. It's both of their jobs. But either way, now you always have to worry when someone offends her, what is going to happen? Is her husband going to show up somewhere?
Say that again.
If someone offends her, what is going to happen? Because I'm going to tell you, my cousin's jokes were all about, I promise never to say anything bad about her again because I don't want any smoke. Well, then that's the problem. Her reputation just got hurt because of something he did. And so whether she coaxed him into it,
I would say it's on the others, because everyone knows, because even before she was boycotting the year after he was nominated. He wasn't nominated the other year, but or she didn't go with him or something, one of the years, but they're there because he was nominated. So this is like if I was getting an award at my job, my wife comes, like they're there for me to win the award. And if I actually do something like that to a boss or to another employee, I'm hurting my reputation more than hers, because I'm actually I'm the one actually getting the award. I'm the one that we're there for.
Both of your reputations are hurt, especially the other. She's not.
I agree. Both
she's not just a regular
person,
person, but she's not just a regular person, and so the damsel in distress thing undermines her power.
And again, we don't know what she said to him.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether. And here's the other thing. There's a different issue here, and it all. And
I'm only playing devil advocate. I have that. I don't lean neither way.
Here's the other side to that, and I have if she wanted to be protected, because we don't know, right? If she wanted to be protected, that's her choice, and that's what's happened. And I'm not saying anything about that. But I think there's something still to look at when we talk about masculinity and how it shows up. And do you have to be I'm going to and be the person that's going to cover it? And where does that come from? Because everyone's talking about, oh, he did it because of him being cheated on. He had to stand up. Well, was it about her then? Or was it about him and his pride? Because people were like, oh, you can't use the word toxic there. But if it was not about her and it was all about him showing that he can be the man of the situation, then it's not about her. And that's just toxic masculinity. And that's not true. About being a man. That's about whatever you have programmed in your head, that you own some property or your pride is more important than anything else. That moment stops being about her at all. And so I think,
but toxic masculinity doesn't always come from ego. It also can be environmentally. A woman can make a man become, not make them, but influence them to become toxic.
I didn't say who. We're not talking about the source. I'm just saying I have no question that relationship is probably something I don't want to touch. It is not a relationship goals for me. I'm gonna put it that way. Not my relationship goals.
Not relationship goals.
I don't want any of that. I want no parts of that mess for myself. But that all said, because I think there's some stuff happening that I don't want to be part of there, right? Yeah. I would hope never to do the things and say the things about any future partner that they have aired out there publicly, or I wouldn't want to do them things privately, whatever. Like, guys, that's their relationship. It's working for them. If it's working for them, whatever. But we're not talking about the source of it, but it's when he got up there, was it really for her, or was it to save his own face? And if it's saving his own face, then you're not really being protective.
Saving his own face for her. How about that?
Yeah, but no, it's not. And now that's just nonsense. That's now just nonsense. You know what I mean? Now that's
Mike is back.
Man, my bad, man. Oh,
yo, you missed.
I'm embarrassed.
You missed an amazing discussion.
That's okay. We need to dead this conversation anyway. So I'm over it. I'm getting mad. We're not doing this no more.
You're not getting mad. Stop it. No.
I am.
I'm only being devil's advocate to make the conversation. We're not just gonna lean one way in the conversation.
We could have, because I could be right and you're not gonna sit here and defend, anything else, because I'm voicing that the impact of it is still problematic. But whatever. You see that W that I just put up there on the screen for those of you who are watching it on YouTube? For those of you who are not, I just did the 1980s whatever W, so he knows what I'm saying. Anyway,
I guess so. What I'll say is, so Will referenced this in his acceptance speech, and now I don't know. Well, obviously, that specific speech that he gave wasn't planned, right? So, at least not all of it. So right, we don't know what Jada said to Will, but and right, Will was laughing, but Will also referenced in his speech that as Hollywood actors and actresses, they are expected to laugh. They are expected to laugh things away. And I kind of liken it to going to a comedy club and you are ridiculed by the comic, the stand-up comic. Most people will try to laugh, even though they don't find it funny. They try to laugh with everyone else, right? In order to not seem as though they are bothered and they are disappointed. I don't think that Will found it funny because he understands what his wife is going through emotionally and the tough time she is, having to endure with, her. Is that alopecia? Is that what it's called, right?
Alopecia, yeah.
Alopecia. Okay. And so, I think that Will saw that Jada wasn't laughing, and he may have felt as though Jada was hurt by that. He knows Jada, and that laughing, that smile went away, and he, said, "I need to take care of this." What I love about Jada, and I was telling a friend this earlier today, or at least something that's related to it. I believe that Jada can handle it on her own. Jada is aware of, I said before I was disconnected, but she is emotionally intelligent, and I value her as an individual because she is aware of her individuality. She is aware of her worth. She is aware of her value, and she knows her autonomy. She knows that she is an individual person. So, I don't know if Will felt as though he needed to defend her, or if it was, hey, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. But the way that when he was giving his speech, the way that she was looking at him, let me know that she appreciated him, and that she and that she does love him. So I don't know if Will was compensating, for something. I mean, this is a layered conversation. I think there's a lot of different perspectives to see this from, including Will personally, things that he may be going through emotionally, for whatever the reasons. But so yeah, but I don't like that Jada is going to be blamed in this. Like, she is going to be attacked. She's going to be made the scapegoat, and for reasons outside of the joke. And I'm using air quotes, the joke. They're going to bring stuff in that had nothing to do with what happened, any way to demonize her even further than what she is consistently being demonized with. And I respect and I appreciate, whether it was intentional or not, that Will not only defended his wife, but Black women. Not that they need defending, but that he stood up and in the moment did what he did. So I know y'all wanted to talk about move on, but
No. There was
No,
nothing
it's
else
fine.
afterwards.
And
But
so I just want to say, in the interest of full transparency, I do not, and this is like not I think the part of the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because, and I do not have alopecia, clearly I have a head full of locks, but the only reason why I have dreadlocks is because my extensions wearing years, a decade of it, destroyed my hairline. And so when it destroyed my hairline, I actually had a very short period of time where I was like, what do I do? And I there's like one picture or two pictures of what my hair looked like in that moment, and I was lost. And so I can't imagine what that means to fully be there and not have a next option. But even in that, I was sitting there crying. I was like, Mom, just cut it all off, and I don't know what I'll do, but just cut it all off. Like, that's where I was, because I lost so much of my hair. And I was young, and the haircut that my mom put it in, I look like a 40-year-old, which is funny because now I'm in my 40s, and I was like, I don't think I look like this, but I just looked.
yeah.
So it was so traumatic to be in that moment back then, and to like have so much hair damage and not know what to do next with my own hair, because it was so decimated from all those years of wearing braids. And so, oh wait, I just decimated. I didn't even mean to. Look at that. And so, and I know people who have alopecia, and I have friends who can't wear locks anymore because it has done so, like they just they're suffering with this illness. And I've watched them go through this whole situation where they've had to just deal with what their next life, what their life without hair is. And there's definitely two Black women who immediately come to mind about it. And if the 24 hours before realizing that I could switch hairstyles and do this other route, and thankfully my mom's like, you should get this thing, they have this like this cute thing, baby lock thing, that maybe you should try that. And I just ended up falling into that, and it was able to cover the amount of hair loss I had to get there. But I was devastated for a long time. And I didn't like a lot of those early pictures because I knew what it was really covering for, to imagine what they all go through, and to know as a Black woman generally how many things were said to me. Because I was told when I had braids, oh, braids are so great, don't ever get dreadlocks. I got that compliment in the work elevator every day by one coworker. And so knowing how many people think that they have a right to say about our bodies and our hair is so upsetting. And so I think, and knowing that, I just don't want us to decenter what was really done that sparked all the other stuff. So thank you guys for letting me be on a little rant about the whole situation.
And I appreciate the perspective, because I didn't really think of it from that. I didn't really think about it from, right, we're all so focused on the slap and what he said, what Chris Rock said. And but yeah, so I appreciate the perspective that you gave.
No problem. So Tony, I don't have anything going on, because by the time this airs, all my stuff would have been done. I know some of your stuff will be done. You got anything to announce coming up?
By the time this airs, we have things happening at 2i Publishing. Yeah, we got BYOBBs up until May 19th, I believe. So go check out 2i Publishing. We have BYOBB is Bring Your Own Book and Bottle, and that is a boozy book club or book club style book reading where you get to have a discussion with the author. So those are self-published authors as well as our own. So please do join us for that. We also have simple book services. If you are a writer and you are looking for assistance in publishing your next book, self-publishing your next book, you can talk with us. And Dara is actually the lead of that initiative that we started at 2i Publishing, because she is overqualified and with 4 books under her belt, including a memoir. So she has gone through the processes herself with constructing books, with going through the cover, finding a designer for the cover, doing all of those things that, sometimes can be overwhelming. And so when I realized her wealth of knowledge and I saw the need for, guidance in the self-publishing realm, I'm like, come on board in another area of my life. And
and then we also, and so if
needs more
you
for
want to control your book, but you need someone to help puzzle piece those last pieces together, come find us. We have a couple of books in queue, but we love to have a conversation with you. Ooh, look at that rhyme.
she
And
rhymed.
then and next,
Poetics University.
yeah, I was
She's
gonna take
gonna
that
take over
part.
my announcement. See, this is what
I
happens
know,
when you
but
come into my
at
life.
least like
She knows everything.
I do know a lot.
Tell her when my birthday is. Tell her when my
I
Social
mean,
Security
it's
number.
September.
The last 4. Yeah.
I tell you his shoe size too, if you want to know. Like I don't know your shoe size.
I'm like, was that an erotic joke? But then I was like, maybe not. I don't know. Go ahead.
It was not an erotic joke at
I was
all.
like, I don't know where that was going.
I was just trying to give random information about you, sir. I wasn't trying to give any. I didn't say anything else, sir. That's not information I want to know.
I'm sorry.
Goodness.
We
Head out
Go ahead.
better. So Poetics University, which is the school founded by Tony Two Eyes, and I'm the vice president. We are starting our next term. Next month is, or the month that you'll hear this podcast is National Poetry Month. And so with that, that's when we started our workshops. And so we are starting T5, and we have 7 amazing workshops coming for you. We will be talking about pets, rebuilding and then knocking down poetic forms. We will be recording some stuff over. We will be doing some sensory work and a whole bunch of more. We'll definitely be exploring. Yeah,
okay.
Sensory. This is sensory.
I thought you were saying moist. I was like,
no, but what's
like,
funny?
This how you describe it?
When I was putting the workshop the workshop descriptions together, I had actually put the sensory description under moist. I was like, that's an interesting description for moist. And then I realized, oh no, that's the sensory class. And then there's a moist description. It'd be an interesting description for moist though. So we'll be doing some erotic poetry there too. We have a whole bunch of amazing courses coming up. So, and the erotic poetry course this semester is of course taught by Tony Two Eyes. So I may do it next term. We'll see. I've been playing around with the idea of like trying to make y'all do some stuff. I'm gonna actually do an influence class, and that'll be my teaser to see if I can get to the erotic workshop class. Influence is whatever you want to do. So it may be a political workshop part 2, but it is about using your pen to be influential. So we'll see what we're doing, but join us if you want to sharpen your pen, if you want to be inspired to write some more during National Poetry Month, or if you just like us and you want to hang out with us and the cool kids, come to Poetics U.
So it is now
your favorite part.
For my favorite part, top of the dome.
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 Top
of the dome.
There you go.
There we go. I knew that tenor was going. Okay.
You should do this every episode going forward.
I be trying to do my range. I need that tenor here every time.
Let's record it, man.
Top of the dome is where we are going to take 5 words that came out of this episode, and we are 6. What is it?
I got my pen and paper.
Oh, you got your pen and paper. So we're taking 5 words plus the word of the episode, and we're going to do a impromptu poem, each one of us. And the words are
decimate, trust, stimulates,
vulnerable, ghost, superficial, and that's it. So decimate, trust, stimulates, vulnerable, ghost, and superficial. So if you have a poem for these words that were inspired by these words, please do just tag us in it, please. We want to see what these words brought out, because I don't know what it's about to bring out in me right now.
This is Mike's fault, because
decimate and simulate.
A lot of these are his.
Oh, really? Oh, it sure is. Now look at it.
So did you get that, Mike? Decimate,
Yeah,
trust,
decimate, trust,
stimulate.
stimulate, goes superficial and vulnerable. Gotcha.
Okay. So Dara, you're first.
Great. My past partners have decimated my trust. They tend to build up something in me and then drop me, shattering it like little pieces of a vase that can never be put together because the shards are too small. They're just slivers. And those slivers cut at pieces of me, slicing wrist, and I just lose it. I become a ghost of who I am. And each partner just become ghosts as well, leaving me just a carcass, and the love that I thought just proves to be superficial. And that's what I get for being vulnerable. I thought there was something there, but there wasn't. They never cared. But maybe one day I'll find someone that stimulates something worth opening myself up to, but I just don't know if it's true. If there's someone I can trust, maybe there's something there that's more than just lust.
Snap, snap, snap.
Mm.
So Mike, you want to go next?
Man. Oh, all right. I love you, or at least I believe I do. When I look in your eyes, I feel your trust penetrating my body and filling my soul. I'm stimulated because my abandonment issues have been eradicated. It leaves me like a ghost, and I recognize that I feel most comfortable in your arms, in your presence. My vulnerability is decimated because your love is predicated on me simply being who I am, not superficially, but spiritually. Did I get them all? I think I got them all.
He did trust.
Yeah.
Right?
What
Oh
did you?
man,
Wow, first time?
man, that was
Even
shit.
through and
Yeah,
predicated? What was that? I was
I don't
like,
know where
look at
that
that
came
word. Come on, come on.
from. Man, yeah.
Okay. So,
Much
Okay.
of the game.
Tony, you gonna take us home on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Man, watch this or listen to this. My loves. Go ahead, Tony. It's gonna
Oh my goodness. Oh.
and it's gonna and it's gonna be dirty. Watch, I know it.
I'm not going there.
I know it.
I'm not going there.
I know it.
She said she had skeletons in her closet. Little did I know she lived in a haunted house full of ghosts. So these skeletons were not only in the closet, but they lay in silk black sheets on beds made for her, and she made room for me. I trusted the cobwebs that hang in every corner in her house. Not a creature was stirring because, not a creature was stirring, just a bunch of dead rats and one live mouse. And that mouse fed on every flesh of every man that stepped in and then reached the same end that I also almost met. She seduced me by stimulation. Stimulated in conversations, I was led by superficial verbiage. But every step I took towards her haunted house decimated every chance that I could possibly have in escaping. Her tongue was like a snake. She made me eat the apple that Adam ate. I said I wanted to be free, but she had me all exposed. She could see my rib cage. I was vulnerable, captured in her cage, in her snare. I thought I could eventually get out of there, but no. It was all in her mind. I was assailant and she was victim. How do I escape a prison in which I can't see? How do I face a woman that disappeared right in front of me? A ghost.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow.
All of
Nice.
you.
Nice.
I think he refused to go there only because you said he would.
Yep. Because I definitely was going to use that stimulates.
I thought of a lot of words.
With a ghost.
Right. Right. All types of
Something vulnerable, and it was going to decimate virgin ears.
Man.
Trust me.
Man.
So that was the top of the dome, which means we're coming closer to the end of the episode. And I just want to say thank you, Mike, for joining us on this.
Yes.
This is like the great experiment where we knew for the 10th episode, we wanted to interview or bring someone in, and we knew who it had to be. There was never a question. We wanted it to be you, and we're so glad you were here. So thank you for joining us. Is there anything that you need to announce, anything coming up? Tell people how to find you, tell people how to find the podcast, because everyone needs to listen to this podcast, please.
Well, first, I want to thank both of you for allowing me to be here. I really enjoyed myself. I'm a fan of both of yours. And this was a great experience, even though I went ghost. And I went ghost.
But you revived
Maybe that's
yourself
where that came
too.
from. I did. Maybe that's where that word came from. But no, I really enjoy myself. I love what you both are doing. Not that you need my approval in any type of way. But Dara, you mentioned how a lot of podcasts that have these great names only have 2, 3, maybe 4 episodes. A lot of people who don't have a podcast or don't do a podcast, they don't know how much work goes into it. So to get to 10 episodes, congratulations. Yeah, no problem. And I'm honored to be your first guest, by the way. As far as me, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Ethically Immoral. You can visit the website ethicallyimmoralpodcast.com. I feel like I'm going through the end of my.
I was just
I can hear the
about to
music in my
say,
head.
I was like, that is immoral.
right. Yeah, you got the Biggie going on in the background.
Ethicallyimmoral.com. And you let
Right,
the beat
yeah.
play.
Right,
I can
right.
hear the music.
Exactly. Exactly. And, and I say it like 2 or 3 times, because it's
Yes.
the 3 times that, but no, so those really are the places. I mean, we're on Twitter too, Poetry and Convo, but primarily Instagram, and then the website. But yeah, I encourage everyone to listen. They're long form conversations, like really long form conversations, like 2 hours sometimes. I think Dara and I talked 3 hours. I have to split that up into 2 episodes.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm still almost at the end of the first one.
Right. See, right. But they're great conversations though.
They
like
are.
people don't understand. Like they go by really, really quick. Like next thing you know, it's like an hour. But yeah. So, but that's where you can find it. Yeah, 2 hours. Right. Yeah, and it goes by so quick. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. And yeah.
Well, thank you again, Mike. So follow Mike Payne, y'all. Ethically Immoral Podcast. That is super dope. So if you're listening to this, listen to him because we definitely he sort of like helped us get our feet into the whole whatever, the words. This is how you always know this is a real podcast, because I can't find words by the end of the episode. So I'm gonna stop talking. Tony's gonna take us out, and then that's gonna be the end of the episode.
What she was saying is that he has offered his platform slot for our advertisement, and you will hear our voices on his podcast at the beginning, amongst others, and that just shows what type of person he is. He's uplifting. It's not competition, it's community. So I respect him and thank him for that. I want to ask though, before we close out, just like I ask all of our guests, what was one takeaway from this episode? What was one of the things that you could take away from this episode? We ask all of our guests this.
All
of them.
Right. Every single one of them.
Every single one. They always answer this one.
Oh man, that I don't know if I would call it a takeaway, but I think it's something that is reaffirmed, and you just mentioned it. That it's not competition, right? Like, there are a ton of creatives that are out here, and to go around. So to be able to come together with other creatives who have platforms that uplift and help promote and support all of the creators that are out here. Your platform, again, this particular episode just reinforces that it's all love. It doesn't have to be, putting someone down in order to get over. We can all work together, be a community, and we all have the same goals in mind. We are creative people. We love creatives. We love assisting when we can, and I just hope that continues, not just with us, but just period. Anyone who's listening. Yeah. So
thank you for that. That was the word right there. And now it's time to say goodbye to all of our poet friends. Thank you for listening to Word2Wordz, the Poets Podcast. The theme song that you heard was brought to you by the skill of Eric Ty Sky, the DJ White. Can't get enough of that name. And we are your hosts, me being Tony Two Eyes, the Entreprepoet.
And I am Dara Kalima, the community poet.
So please make sure you reach out to us, submit to us some word of the episodes. We're always expanding our vocabulary. Also, send us some of the other topics as well, like the Let's Talk About It. We want to know what type of topics you want to talk about. You want us to talk about. You can talk about it as well on the comment section of our post. So please share with us. And also let us know of any poet that's doing their thing in the industry. We want to give them their flowers and let them know that their impact is recognized. So that is the words. Those were the words. And now we are going to say goodbye. Until next time, happy writing, happy poeting, be great.
Thanks again, Mike. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.